When we picture the past, we usually think of the things that lasted stone ruins, bits of pottery, but what about everything else? All the wood, the thatch, the leather that made up the fabric of daily life. Most of that stuff is long gone, leaving these huge gaps in our history. So, how do you study an invisible past? Well, it turns out you have to build it. I mean, think about it. How can we really know the creak of an ancient floorboard or the particular smell of a damped thatched roof? How can we understand the feeling of walking a narrow path through a huge marsh? A dusty textbook or a museum artifact can only tell you so much. To really get a feel for the world our ancestors lived in, sometimes you've just got to roll up your sleeves and rebuild it. And here's the really cool part. This isn't about creating some perfect, pristine replica that never changes. Archaeologists have figured out that there's a whole story to be told in the entire life of a building. Not just its creation, but how it's lived in, and yeah, even how it dies. You can learn just as much from watching a building fall apart as you can from the day it was finished. So that's really the core idea here. We can test our theories about the past by actually recreating these ancient structures and technologies. It's this amazing hands-on science of building something, living with it, and yes, even watching it decay. And that is the world of experimental archaeology. This whole approach gives us this incredible tool to make those invisible parts of history visible again. It's all about filling in the blanks where all that organic stuff just rotted away centuries ago. So, what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, experimental archaeology is about learning by doing. It's about taking the clues that are left behind, like some holes in the ground where posts used to be, and trying to turn them back into a three-dimensional working structure. It's the ultimate way to see if our ideas about how people used to live actually hold up in the real world. Okay, so let's walk through the whole process. We'll start at the beginning, with the birth of a structure. I mean, where do you even begin when most of the original blueprints have vanished into thin air? Well, you'd be surprised. Sometimes the past isn't really past at all. To rebuild a Bronze Age hut in Sicily, archaeologists didn't just look at dusty remains. They found living history right there in the mountains, where shepherds are still building these traditional huts called palyaru, using skills passed down for who knows how many generations. And this technique has a name. It's a key concept: ethnographic evidence. It's basically the idea that by watching living traditions, we can find these amazing echoes of ancient practices. It's like finding a living, breathing instruction manual for skills that were never written down. And the knowledge these shepherds had, it's just mind-blowing. Things an archaeologist would never guess in a million years. For instance, they use tough blackberry branches for tying things together because they last way longer than willow. Or get this, they insist you have to build when the moon is waning and a north wind is blowing to keep insects out of the timber, and a team should be 4 people, no more. This is pure, practical wisdom that makes the whole process come alive. But of course, it's not always about 100% perfect authenticity. When it came to rebuilding the Roman amphitheater of Viminacium, they had to make compromises. The new version had to fit modern tourists, which means wider seats, and it definitely had to meet today's health and safety codes. It's always this delicate dance between being true to history and dealing with modern reality. All right, so the structure is up. Now what? Now we get to phase 2. It's life. What can we possibly learn by actually using these reconstructed spaces? Well, a lot, it turns out. Okay, check this out. This is the Sweet Track, a 6,000-year-old wooden path in England. The painting on the left is the romantic vision people had of it, open, peaceful. But when they actually built a replica, they found the reality on the right was totally different. Those reeds grow tall and fast, creating this tight, enclosed tunnel. Walking through it would have been a weird, rustling, noisy experience, completely changing our sense of what that daily commute was like. And by watching the replica over time, they made another huge discovery. The wooden posts holding it up rotted away at the waterline so fast they'd need replacing after just 4 years. That means the whole trackway probably only lasted about 8 years total before it was abandoned. That's an incredibly short lifespan for such a major piece of engineering. But living in the past wasn't just about weird sensory experiences. Sometimes it revealed some serious hidden dangers. I want to show you a number, 135. What on earth could that mean for life inside a Viking house? It means the air was terrible, absolutely awful. Experiments in a rebuilt Viking longhouse found that the smoke from the central fire pit made the air quality 135 times worse than what we consider safe today. This shines a light on a really harsh reality of the past. People were likely dealing with major health problems from indoor air pollution, especially women and children who would have spent the most time inside. But beyond all the hard data, the process of rebuilding creates something else, something really human: community. On the project to build a Bronze Age boat called the Morgar, dozens of volunteers from totally different backgrounds, we're talking artists, engineers, students, all came together. They were drawn by the challenge and the chance to learn old skills. As one of them put it, working on that boat was a feast for the soul. So we've seen a structure's birth, and we've seen its life. Now we get to the final, and maybe the most fascinating phase, its death. What can a pile of ruins possibly teach us? So this is the Black Hand Kiva, a reconstructed Puebloan building in Colorado. After it was used for years, they just left it. They let nature take its course. And what they saw was that the first major failure wasn't the walls. It was a big pine support beam in the roof that snapped in 2009. That single break started the slow-motion collapse of the roof's center, while the outer parts, which were built differently, stayed surprisingly strong. This shows us exactly how these things fall apart, information that's gold when you're trying to interpret actual ancient ruins. The problem, as archaeologist T.J. Nickel points out, is that getting to watch this happen is incredibly rare. Most reconstructions at tourist sites get torn down and replaced as soon as they start to look a little shabby. We almost never get to witness the scientifically valuable process of them falling apart naturally. And we lose so much information that way. At Ferry Carrig in Ireland, they learned a vital lesson when they stopped lighting fires inside some reconstructed roundhouses. It turns out the rising smoke was essential for drying out the thatch. Without it, the roofs got soaked, became incredibly heavy, and literally started pulling the walls down. That taught them that the roof and the fire are part of one active system. The fire keeps the roof light and functional. So after all of this, building them, living in them, and watching them fall apart, what's the big takeaway from these old buildings made new again? Well, it's that these reconstructions are so much more than just static models. They are dynamic, living experiments. They tell the whole story of a structure, the unwritten skills needed to build it, the sensory world of living inside it, and the precise way it returns to the earth. They give us a much deeper, richer understanding of the life and ingenuity of our ancestors. And it really leaves you with the final thought, doesn't it? We're so often focused on creation, on preservation. But if watching the slow death of a single building can teach us this much, what else could we learn if we just started paying a little more attention to how things end?